Hi, my name is Ivan. You're watching Player Layer, and today I'm going to be playing Micro Dojo, a two-player game. We're going to run through the rules and just simulate a two-player game. Though the game does have a solo mode, but because it's main mode is two players, we're going to be playing at two players. As you can see, the game is really, really small. When they say micro, they really mean it. To the point where it's almost difficult. It is kind of difficult to handle. But I think it's a very unique game and you should definitely check it out. But yeah, let's start with reading through some flavor text and seeing what the game is about. So, Micro Dojo. You are one of two daimyo, feudal lords of Edo, Japan, tasked by the shogun to bring prosperity to a small town. Carefully maneuver the town's retainers to gather resources, build buildings, complete the shogun's tasks, and win favor. The most prosperous daimyo will be granted the title to the town. In Micro Dojo, you are going to be controlling these four little workers by ordering them around the board, and you can only move adjacently. So basically you've got two types of resources, which are your rice and your coins. And using those resources, you will be completing objectives. You will be purchasing buildings, which will allow you some special actions, and attempting to gather points. The game ends immediately when either somebody reaches 7 points or all 5 objectives, which you see up here, are completed. So, how do you actually start the game? To set up the game, there's 12 buildings here to choose from, and you randomly select 6, which are going to be played in the game. The rest can be returned to the box. If the game had a box, the game actually comes in an envelope, so I actually store mine in a little baggie, but it depends on how the Kickstarter, which is coming very soon, probably by the time you're watching this, it is up on Kickstarter or has already even passed. But yeah, there might be a reward from what I understand, which is going to have a box as well. So these are the buildings that we can construct, and I don't know how well you can see it. The game is tiny, but at the bottom of each building, you're going to have a cost. And that is how much it costs to build the building. You also will need to be on a building space to build it. And you can also sell your buildings there for a victory point at any time when you go on the building space. So basically, if you go onto a building space, say for example, I have activated this sumo, and he may move here. On the space, he can choose to gain a coin or a rice and make a building. So if he has the resources, he will pay those resources, and from now on, you'll be able to use the building's ability. The objectives. By going onto these action spaces, which are these two spaces, one is one action, the other is two actions. There you can mainly do 3 things. One is activate an objective, which just means you check the leftmost objective and see which of the two players has won it, and they will gain the points underneath. If it is a tie, it is only flipped over and nobody earns the points. But remember that's one of your end game conditions, is completing all 5 of these objectives. So it's going to be something that you're going to be doing throughout the game, and I think it's one of the more strategic parts. So by going on an action space, you can just activate an objective. In this case, this objective is upside down, but it's whoever has the most coins minus their total of rice. So for example, let's say I have got 4 coins here as the blue player, and let's say 3 rice. So we take all of our coins, which is 4, minus all of our rice, which is 3, and I've got 1. In this case, let's say green player doesn't have any coins or any resources, he'd be at 0. But were this the case, if I were to have 6 rice and 4 coins, I'd be at -2. So in this case, green player would get it. So you can go below 0 on some of these objectives. Most of these objectives are going to be for like your economy sorts of stuff, so like resources and buildings and how much your buildings cost and so on. whilst there are also these advanced objectives, which we will not be playing with today, but there is an advanced mode of the game. Basically, it adds in these new objectives, and it gives special abilities to each of the workers. But the game that we're playing today is just the base game, so each of the workers is going to be the same. You just activate it and move it adjacently. So we can... the other things that you can do on an action space are... one, you can donate by paying 5 of either resource, which will immediately grant you a victory point. And you may also use an action to activate one of your buildings that you have purchased. That costs usually an action point, so like this one. Once you have a broker, you can always trade a action for 2 coins. And the final thing that you can do on the action spaces is use an action to trade resources, where you will be trading 2 of one type of resource for 1 of another type of resource, which sounds like a bad deal, but for example, if you go on the double action space, you will be able to kind of trade those resources so that you have enough to complete one of those objectives, or so that you're, winning on objectives. So it is something that I did not take into account my first couple of games, but I've learned, I believe, how to use it. And the final thing, whoever is the second player has this little handshake token, which they can trade in at any point to go on any one of the workers, because you will see you cannot activate a worker that has already been that has been activated by you or the other player on their last turn. So, for example, let's say it's Green's turn now. He will have the choice between these 2 workers, but at any point once during the game, it's a one-time ability. He can forego that and, for example, take off Blue's daimyo and place their own daimyo on that space. So this is basically the rules of the game. If I've forgotten anything, I'm sorry, I'm not the best rule teller, but I will make sure to kind of aid you through this game, and hopefully you can understand how the game plays. I think it's a fantastic game. For what it is, I've never played first of all, I've never played a smaller game. Look at my hand in comparison to this board. It is just phenomenal how small it is and how it fits in your pocket. But the experience that it grants, I have found, it doesn't feel like a small game. It feels like just a very head-to-head 2-player game, which has a lot of blocking the other player and just trying to get some resources. There are some small things that I do have some small criticisms, which I'll get to at the end of the game. But first, let's just play a game. So, it is blue player's turn first, and blue player may choose any one of the 4 workers to place his daimyo on to move adjacently and gather a resource or anything else. So, I guess blue player is going to go on the ninja meeple and is going to move into here, which gets blue player 2 gold coins. And now it is green player's turn. So now green player has the choice of these 3 meeples. So green player may choose the sumo to get a coin and a rice, or the samurai to get a rice or a coin and build. But for now they don't have enough to actually build. So let's go for the balanced route, the middle way, for a coin and a rice. So that is it for green player's turn. As you can see, it's quite a fast game. So now we can have a look at the first objective, and it looks like blue player would be able to complete it if blue player could get to an action space. But blue player is far away from an action space, and basically blue player's choice is either 2 rice or going on here and building. So let's see what they can build. And let's see what the guardhouse actually does, because that is one building that I don't think I've seen in a while. You'll see in this rulebook, by the way, the rule book is actually a rule page, which is a single sheet folded in nine little squares. So the guardhouse allows, let me find it, guard house. Yeah, place the guardhouse face down on an empty space return it at the start of your next turn. So you can pay 2 gold. So this is one that I actually haven't played. It's very strange because I already have about 10 games under my belt, and it just so happens that I've never played with the guardhouse. Return it at the start of your next turn. So you may pay 2 gold resources at the end of your turn to block the other player from getting from using a certain space. That is very cool, and I'm going to buy it to see if that works. So blue player is going to go for a samurai, who's going to come here. I'm going to choose to get a rice, and now that I've got 2 gold and 1 rice, I pay that for a guardhouse. And by the way, our next objective, because you can look at these all the time, but you must score from left to right, and the points are also ascending that you gain for each objective. The next objective is whoever has the buildings that cost the most gold and rice. So the guardhouse is definitely good because it costs 2 gold and 1 rice, so 3 total. But now it is green player's turn. Green player can go for 2 actions. Let's see, they've got 0 and blue player has 0 as well. So, oh no, they've got 2, 0. So, yeah, green player is going to go for rice, whatever they do, because unless they want to use their handshake, their special ability, but I don't think they want to do it this early in the game. I think it's alright going with rice, but that will leave blue player to have those actions available from the sumo, which will score them the objective maybe. Although if they don't get the rice, then the objective won't be scored. So here's a little conundrum which happens throughout the game. You'll see that there are various situations like this where I basically have the choice. I can come down here with the ninja and block the blue daimyo from taking these 2 actions, and then they'll only be able to take 1 action, and I won't have more rice. So, or I will still be at a tie because I won't have taken the rice with the green player. Or I can go and take the rice, and then blue player is probably going to go to score that objective because that's going to give them a point, and points are not that easy to acquire in this game. 2 rice or the actions. So what else can we do with the actions? I'm just going to have this over here. So we can trigger an objective, activate a building, trade. Trade would be great if we had 2 resources so that we could trade our rice for gold. But we cannot do that. Although there is a market that we can build if we wanted to. Because we have enough for it, and the market allows you to trade resources at a 1-to-1 ratio, not a 2-to-1 ratio. But alright, those are our choices. I think for now we'll just let blue daimyo have it and just gather up some rice so that maybe we can build a nice building, because blue player is gonna leave this samurai open for us, and then we can probably buy an expensive building, hopefully, that allows us to go for that next objective. So blue player is going to go with the sumo and is going to go on the double action space. So the first action blue player is going to do is trigger this objective, which is gold minus rice. Blue player is at 0, whilst green player is at -2. So blue player wins this objective, which is 1 point for blue player. We'll just place their flag over here. And now blue player still has 1 more action. The thing is, blue player cannot donate, cannot trade, and there is a rule that you cannot activate an objective more than once during the game. So blue player is just gonna stay there to kind of guard that second action space, because you'll see that when we progress through the game, you're gonna have more actions are going to be available to you because you'll find ways to kind of gain more resources, so you'll be able to donate, or you'll want to trade with those resources. Just at the moment, both of us have very few resources, so I think that's why those action spaces early game are not as strong as they will be later on. So let's move on to the building space because of that next objective mainly. And we can have a shrine. So the shrine allows you to, whenever you go on an action space, to trade 1 action and 3 rice for a victory point. Because usually donating is going to cost you 5 of a certain resource, like rice, but this one just makes it a little bit cheaper. And you can always sell it for a victory point when you go on a building. So that is what green player is going to do. Cool. So now it's blue daimyo's turn again, with the choice of 1 gold or 1 rice. Because as you can see, it's such an interesting puzzle to me how you're blocking off spaces for the other opponent, and you're kind of thinking, what's the best thing for me, but also what is that going to leave the other opponent's situation? Like what's going to leave that for the other opponent? So in this case, I think I'm going to go with this, what is it called? Geisha, for a single gold. For 2 reasons. One is because I've got this guardhouse, and this guardhouse might be a good thing to play later on, and just having that gold might be good. And the second reason is I think that this is a worse situation for green player than this would be. Though, I don't know. Might not be, because I think green player is going to go for gaining some extra resources. The broker is very nice, actually, because the broker is going to allow actions to basically always be good, because you'll always be able to get some coins for an action. So I'm going to take that, and with the sumo, I'm going to go down here, and actively I'll both be gaining a coin and building a building. So I have 1 coin, I gain a 2nd coin, and I pay those 2 coins to get the broker. So the broker now allows me, when I go on an action space, I can spend that action, one of those actions, to gain 2 coins. And that also helps me out for that objective. So hopefully I'll be able to get it. And it is blue player's turn. Blue player can go for those actions, but again, I don't think at this point in the game that is a good decision, though we know that green player wants to go there. So blue player might want to just take the ninja over here so that green player doesn't have anyone that can go straight for an action. So that is what blue player is going to do. Go over here, get just a single rice. And as you can see, green player doesn't have any direct workers that can go for the action. And right now, actions are really good for green player. Well, green player is going to plan for the future a little bit and move the samurai up to gain 2 rice. And why do I say planning for the future? Because remember, he can gain victory points from 3 rice. So having more rice is definitely good for the green daimyo. Now we are at the blue player's turn again. For blue player, again, gold is usually a good resource because that is the way to block. Also, he might want to go and block the action space so that green player doesn't immediately gain those points. But, I don't know. Maybe he wants to make that market as well, just to even out. Yeah, let's do that. So, blue player takes the sumo, goes over to the building site, and creates a marketplace by, paying 1 gold and 1 rice. And now we've got 2 buildings. So in the market, we can use action spaces for trading resources at a 1-to-1 ratio, which is great. And that would be great if we also had a broker, I think. So now it is green player's turn. Green player actually doesn't really want to do an action now, or doesn't want to activate an objective from an action. Though he can use his broker and then shrine as well. That might be a good choice. But from the looks of it, I think that this is the most wise decision, taking the ninja down and gaining 1 rice and 1 coin. So that now, when green player goes to the action space, green player may actually use the shrine. So it is blue player's turn, and blue player is going to go for the gold. Yeah, let's go for the gold. So we've got 2 gold. And if we want, we can actually place this guardhouse, which is going to be placed anywhere on the board and just block the other player. Do we want to do that is the question. I don't think so, because right now we're evened out at this objective. The next objective is the most rice. Yeah, I'm not going to use the guardhouse for now. So a green player's turn. And the green daimyo is going to go for those double actions. Alright, so let's have the first action. The first action is going to be making use of this shrine, which returns 3 rice for just a victory point. And the second action is going to be, how about just the broker, actually. The broker for get 2 gold coins as an action. So we used both of our buildings, and it is blue player's turn again. So blue player can choose the ninja or the sumo. They have a guardhouse, they have a market. Things are looking all right. What is there? So blue player can actually build. Blue player takes the sumo, goes down here. Blue player gets a coin, and he pays 3 coins to build this barracks. And now, we've got a barracks, which allows one of your actions to be trade 3 coins. So it's like the shrine, but for coins. So 3 coins equals a victory point when you go to an action space. And now it is green player's turn. Green player can go for rice, a gold coin, or an action. And let's go with green player. Let's go to the action space, which is just going to give us 2 coins. There is actually a hard limit for how much coins or rice you have, and that is 7. You can never have more than 7 coins or rice in the game. And now it is blue player's turn. Blue player. So if blue player moves off of here, actually right now blue player wants to get that action. But moving off of here is going to give the green player 2 actions, which can be, a lot of coins, and then green player can also trade resources or donate resources. So it's not as straightforward a decision as one may think. Right, let's just go for the rice. So there is 1 rice. Sorry, that's blue player. So it's green player's turn. Green player, I don't think green player is going for that objective at all. He's going to leave it to blue player. We've got, can go for the coin. Actually really like both of my buildings right now. I think I'm going to go over here and get a coin and a rice. And that is it. It's blue player's turn. Blue player is either going to go to the build to maybe sell a building, but no, actually, yeah, the action space. So whoever's buildings cost the most rice and gold total wins this one, and that is 1 victory point that goes to blue player because his buildings cost a total of 7, whilst green player's buildings cost a total of 5. So now it is green player's turn, who's either going to go for this or for the top one. I think that's a fairly easy decision. Let's just come here, take a rice, and we can build a building or unbuild a building if we want. The statue is just going to immediately give us a victory point. And then we can also sell it for another victory point, which might actually be something good because look at this last objective. The last objective is whoever has... oh, well, never mind. So I don't think that there's a way that we can take this one away from the blue player, because it's whoever has the buildings that cost the most gold, and his buildings cost 6 gold, green's buildings cost 2 gold in total. So even if we get that 3 gold costing statue, it's not going to do us a lot of good. So I think we can start selling things, perhaps. So let's come here. Let's take 1 rice. And let's sell this broker. So this broker is going to get out of the game and is going to give us a victory point for a green player. So why did I sell him? Sell the broker? At this point, I don't think we need any more gold. I don't think it's going to be doing us as much good as this shrine over here. So yeah, that is my reasoning behind it. Alright, so now it is blue player's turn. Blue player can go for an action. Blue player actually has the most rice at the moment, and that is something that oh no, he doesn't. Yes, he does. No, he doesn't, because, yeah, green player has the most rice. But can blue player do anything? They can trade that rice for a gold, or they can pay 3 gold to gain a victory point. I don't know. What do we want to do? Let's go for the gold because of the fact that we have the barracks. That's going to give us 2 gold. Let me just do this. Alright, so we got 2 gold with the blue player. And the green player, I think, is going to go for this action down here, which is either we can do the... I think we should do the objective, which is going to give us 2 victory points. That's 1, 2. The objective was whoever had the most rice. It was 3 versus 1. It is blue player's turn. And what does blue player want to do? The next objective is whoever has the most total of rice and gold. And at the moment, it looks like green player is going to get that one fairly easily. But at least the last one is going to be for blue player. Like whatever happens, even if green buys this building, as long as blue player doesn't sell any buildings, that should go to him. So we're going to take the sumo in either case, because this one's just going to go to the buildings, and that's kind of worthless for us. So we want to go to either the coin and rice or the 2 rice. We're going to go for the coin and rice because of the building that blue player has, which is selling gold for a point in the victory or in the action spaces. So and that again opens up the double action space, but I don't really think we had a better move with blue player. So the green daimyo is gonna waltz into the double action space. Is going to trade. Well, first is going to activate this objective, which is gonna give 2 points, 1, 2, and then is going to pay 3 rice to get that final point, and that was the end of the game. So this is basically how a game of Micro Dojo goes. I don't know if I was playing the best moves, to be honest, because of course, you know, I think that I'm simulating a 2-player game, but yeah, I think the game is great. I think that there's a lot that goes into it, and games feel quite different. There are games, so here's kind of these small things that I think could be a little bit better in the game. First of all, I like that every game has you've got these different buildings, and you've got it does feel a little bit different. And in this small system, you can look as forward ahead as you want by looking at those objectives. And I like the objectives. I like that you have 2 ways to kind of win the game. I like that the victory points don't feel very easy to get. But you've got multiple ways to get them. You can get them through objectives. You can get them through buying those buildings that give you ways to get victory points. You can sell buildings to get victory points automatically. You can donate, meaning you can hoard resources and then sell them for victory points. But I think the main hook of the game isn't even, isn't just that. To me, the main hook is over here. It's the little puzzle of what's the best thing that I can do that's going to put my opponent in the worst position. And sometimes there's that really satisfying turn of, ooh, I'm going to go... it almost always feels like there's a little tug of war between what's the best for me, what's the worst for him, or for the other player. And oftentimes you're going to start weighing stuff in, even if it's like, oh, that's pretty good for me, but it's opening up this space which it can let the other player just take advantage of it. And yeah, so I think it's really good for what it is. I think it's definitely worth the asking price on Kickstarter, which from what I know, it hasn't launched yet at the time of I'm filming this, but from what I know, it's going to be £5, which is like $7 or $8, and I think that is well worth it because I've already played and replayed this game with a lot of friends, and it's one that, if at this point I think I've had about 10 plays of this prototype or of this game, and I've enjoyed every single one of them. It doesn't overstay its welcome by any means. This took, I don't know, you'll see in the video, but like a game usually takes about 15 minutes, maybe even less. If you already know how to play, maybe your first time is going to be about 20 minutes. But yeah, some things which I think could be better, or like this situation where one player really takes the lead is something that has happened quite a few times, and I don't know if it's just one player knowing the game better, or there isn't really a catch-up mechanism. I can't say that it needs one because it's such a fast-paced game, and I don't think that's like that's not something that's going to deter me, because it's not like we're going to be playing this for an hour and a half. But there are some games where the score is really close and there's still that like adrenaline rush, and then sometimes when you're 2-3 points ahead of your opponent, it's going to seem like, okay, I'm really I already know that I'm kind of gonna win, and I don't think that there's much of a chance of kind of the underdog winning again. Then also something that I've noticed in the game, and hopefully, I'm not sure if it's going to make it into the Kickstarter version, but both of the pieces that are of your color are put on the map at one point, and we have had several occasions where players kind of forget whether they're playing green or whether they're playing blue. So yeah, just having a little, maybe a little blue and green on each side so that you just remember which side you're sitting on. That might be a good addition to the game. But yeah, other than that, I think it's a really good game for what it is. It's something that I have carried in my pocket quite a few times to several several game nights, and people have enjoyed it. Usually it's something that we play before everyone gets there, because I usually arrive early, and we usually play a game or two of this. And even with like 3 players, just 1 player watching has been interesting. It's also a good game to watch because you can like so quickly grasp it. But yeah, those are my thoughts. I have not played the advanced mode as much. I've only played 2 games of it, but I think it's definitely good and worth it. I just wanted to really understand how the base mode works so that I can talk about it and hopefully give some useful feedback. But yeah, the advanced mode is very cool. You've got these other objectives which are, if at the moment of being on that action space, 2 of the workers are adjacent to each other, then you get that point. So you need to kind of be on the lookout for when the ninja and geisha are together, or when the ninja and sumo are together. This one is kind of a funny one. It is just whoever has the least victory points gets that objective. So this is, I guess, the a kind of catch-up mechanism. And then the one with the 3 meeples is the player who triggers this objective scores if 3 meeples are in a straight line. So yeah, just having 3 meeples in a straight line. And the last one is the player with the fewest buildings. So yeah, sometimes these are a little bit situational, but I like them, and I like how the buildings work. There is a good amount of buildings. Some of them, like for example, some of them are abilities, kind of like the guardhouse one that we had. Like the rice paddy is one where you can pay a rice to move a second time. And so some of them actually alter the way that your workers work, if that, or the way that your daimyos move around and stuff. But yeah, I think there's a decent, really decent replayability factor for this game. It is something that I've enjoyed. I love the compactness of it. I don't love so much the fact that things are a little bit too small, and sometimes it can feel kind of difficult to maneuver around. I do feel like I got used to it though. After a certain amount of plays, I think I've gotten used to it. But yeah, it does feel a little bit too small. But it's a micro game. I think that's part of the designer's hook, so I'm completely alright with it. And this is actually a game I would recommend if you want to go on Kickstarter. It's going to get you closer to that super backer status if you want that. But it is just a small game which actually has quite a lot of replayability, and just it's a good game. In my opinion, it's a good game. Despite if this game was a big box game, I would still play it and enjoy playing it. So I think that the micro part of it makes it stand out a little bit, but the game itself is solid. So I do recommend it. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, subscribe and like this video if you enjoyed it.